Building in a Small Town, where we're talking to entrepreneurs, community leaders, policymakers, and more to find out how they're building things in small towns. I'm your host, Shelby Smith. Hello and welcome back to the Building in a Small Town podcast. Today I am remote. I am in Jefferson, Iowa, just south of Jefferson, Iowa. Technically, we're not within city limits, I don't believe. But I have the two guys, Bill and James of Iowa Cover Crop. So thank you guys for sitting down to chat with me this afternoon.
You bet. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's start with you guys. First of all, I don't care who wants to go first, Bill or James, on this one. Did you both grow up here in Jefferson?
Yeah. We're classmates, class of 04, out of Jefferson. And we were in the same forage club, Greenbrier Go-Getters.
Was it the Go-Getters? I thought it was just 4-H club.
I thought we were the Greenbrier Go-Getters.
I think you need to look that up.
Do
Fact
either
check.
of you have a T-shirt?
No.
Dang.
No.
I'm pretty sure.
But you should ask Bill if he can do the 4-H pledge.
Oh.
Can you?
I can.
I don't know if I can do the first. I pledge my head to clear thinking, my heart's greater loyalty, my hands to larger service for my club. I forgot an H. Health. My health to better
Head,
living.
hands, health, heart.
My club, my community, my country, my world.
Oh, you got it. You nailed it.
How does that start? What's the first thing?
Head, hands,
Yeah.
heart, health. Yeah, you got it.
Dang. Bill, does James put you on the spot a lot?
Sometimes.
I can kind of tell. And also, class of 04, you guys have a big reunion coming up.
Yeah, the big 2-0. Yep.
Dang.
So, should be fun.
Be at Bell Tower Festival.
All at the same time?
All at the same time.
Yeah,
Dang.
all the classes kind of meet there, which is pretty cool. So you see, like, you've got your 40-year people and your 50 years and your 5 years, and it's kind of fun to just all to get together. And
Yeah, so then you guys are the 20 years this year. Okay, so you grew up here, classmates. Were you friends in school?
we had an arranged friendship.
At least like when we were younger.
Who arranged it? I feel like
Our
he
parents,
did.
all of our parents.
Yeah.
So, and then middle school, high school, we didn't really hang out too much. We went to college, came back, and it's few and far between for people our age there.
So it's arranged friendship again.
Yeah, kind of, like
Forced.
Society arranged our friendship, and it's worked out well, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so you both went to college.
Yep.
Where'd you go?
I went to South Dakota State in Brookings, South Dakota.
Why?
Why? Well, I didn't make it into Iowa State because I wasn't smart enough. So it was either community college or I made it into South Dakota State because it had kind of lower admission standards. And
Go Jackrabbits, right?
Go Jackrabbits, but I thrived and graduated with over a 2.5, which is very good.
That is real good.
Yeah, that is striving.
Above average.
And
Yeah.
what did you study?
I studied agriculture, ag studies.
Okay, it's very
Because-
broad.
Yeah, because I didn't have to take chemistry and all the stuff that I probably wouldn't be able to pass. So my real major was just learning about people and talking, which usually involved a beverage at Main Street for the most part. Yeah.
Fair.
So I met people. I learned how to do sales in college, and that's what my college experience was about.
And so did you come back right after college?
I came back after college, and then I got a job locally here at an ethanol plant, and I traded feed grains and both domestically and internationally, and then I left that after probably 5 or 6 years and went on the farm.
Gotcha.
So we're both farmers also.
Okay, and that was what I was going to say.
Yep.
Both grew up on a farm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Very traditional row crop, or row crop in line. I mean, if you were 4-H, were you like both showing
We both had cattle.
Yeah, we both have cattle and still do.
Who won in the show?
Oh, Bill probably did.
I don't know. I don't remember.
I mean, your cattle are better than mine, so.
So the only place we would come head to head was the Penna 3 competition. And the Pen of 3 is cool because it's not just how good are your animals. You don't just go out and buy the fanciest animals. You also you get graded on an interview process.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Yeah. So our segments of the livestock business are a little different. Bill has a cow-calf herd, and I have a feed yard. So Bill would take his home-raised cattle, which were better than the stuff that we'd buy, because we would mostly just kind of buy garbage cattle out of the southeast, and then, but yeah, we did the interview thing. I don't know who won our senior year. I have no idea.
I don't know either. I feel like we both always did pretty well because we were actually doing the chores, and
Yep.
like our parents weren't going to do it for us, so we were involved all the time.
So you actually had something to talk about.
Although I was cleaning the basement out this morning because my wife's been after me cleaning out the basement, and I did find an award from forage. Second place, 2003 tug of war.
Oh, wow.
Which is it was a medal.
That was a big deal, yeah.
It is gone now. It is in the Boone County dump or Dallas County dump, whichever one.
That's too bad.
Dang it.
Yeah, but I did win that, or I got second.
You have some bare walls in here. You could.
Yeah, I suppose you could put it up.
Or Historical Society would probably take it. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Probably want it. Okay, so very good. So you, South Dakota State, going on and do a little grain trading and all that stuff. What about you? Where did you end up? Did you have good enough grades to get into Iowa State? Or
Maybe. I don't know. I joined the Army in high school and then did the reserve thing. So I took a year to do training and stuff. And then I went to Northwestern in Orange City.
Okay.
Studied ag business, sort of. Kind of similar to James. I mostly went there to figure people out.
Yeah. And so when you did where did you go for basic for your Army Reserve?
Fort Leonard Wood, southern Missouri.
Oh. Yeah. That's like a whole nother country.
It was different, yeah.
So you only did that for a year. So then were you, did they pay
as a reservist, so then I was doing weekends.
So did they pay for Northwestern then?
Some of it, yeah.
Okay, that's nice.
And then I wrestled up there too, so that helped. And so
nice. Did you wrestled in high school then?
I did.
Obviously, what weight class?
I was 103 all through high school.
You were the little one.
Yeah, cutting pretty hard, and then 125 in college.
Okay.
So
is that the smallest weight class in college as well? Did you enjoy the college athlete thing?
Yes.
Northwestern NAIA?
NAIA, yep.
Okay.
Yep. I did. It was, the coach that recruited me was fantastic. And then after my freshman year, he retired and we got a new guy, and then we kind of butted heads a little bit. But no, I did enjoy it. It was a great way to meet people and get connected, but man, it was a full-time gig.
Yeah.
Wrestle in the morning, go to school all day, wrestle at night.
Somewhere in there, do homework.
Do some studying. Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah. But looking back, you would have done it again.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah.
My neck doesn't hurt anymore, which is kind of nice. So maybe I would do it again.
Yeah, and I would imagine not cutting weight anymore is.
Yeah, so that was kind of the kind of good thing in college. I was a natural 25-pounder, so I didn't really have to cut, but it also kind of bit me because I was wrestling people way bigger than me. So.
Yeah, right. Well, can't have it all.
No.
Okay, so you graduate from Northwestern, and do you come back immediately?
I came straight back, yeah.
Okay, and that is to come back to the family farm?
Yep, I was working with Dad on the farm and
Okay.
just kind of working like an hourly wage for Dad, and then trying to figure out some side hustles, figure out how I could make a little extra
You
money
got
here
paid?
and there. Well, it was my sole source of income, basically, other than little odd jobs. So I didn't have a real fancy pants job where I had to go to an office or anything. So,
The life.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so, what was that like? Did both of you always plan on coming back to the family farm, or was that kind of?
I'd say I always planned on going back
Yeah.
in one way or the other.
Yeah. I was kind of torn, I think, either coming back or if the military was my thing, probably jumping in on that. But
Military was not your thing.
it wasn't my thing.
Did you end up getting deployed at all?
No.
That's kind of nice.
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah. I don't think I would want to be deployed to Army. That's, we were talking about before we hopped on that my brother's an F-16 pilot. And so he was deployed to Afghanistan in 2013, but his deployment was like 6 months.
Yeah.
Pilots have it.
And they go to a nice place.
Yeah.
It's like a vacation.
Right. I was going to say, pilots have it a little cushier, shall we say, than Army does. Okay. So you decide no thanks on that. And so reserve, how long do you sign a contract for reserve? Is it like 2 years?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
But it was enough that you could just not.
I was done. Yeah.
And would you say you graduated 04? Would you say you were done by like 09-ish?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. So just after college.
Yep.
That relatively painless experience in the
Yeah,
reserves.
it was good. I liked a lot of it. There was a lot of really valuable lessons learned, but it just wasn't going to be for me long term.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And did you end up having to, they talk about specialized training and things like that. Did they send you down a particular job?
I was a 21 Tango, a technical engineer. So I was like the main focus was a land surveyor. So I would do land surveying, and then we would also like, what else were we doing? We did a lot of like de-arming landmines.
Oh, I could see why you would not like long
practice.
term.
No, that was the fun part.
Well, sure.
And then like testing concrete for some reason too, which I could not tell you how to do any of those things right now.
Yeah.
So
That's fine.
But it was all interesting.
Yeah, interesting time in your life. So did you both meet your significant others in college?
No.
Are they before that?
Mine's after college.
Okay. And did you drag her kicking and screaming here to Jefferson? Or is she local?
No, she's not local. So I met her kind of through work, like friend to friend at work. And
Gotcha.
Megan's from northern Iowa, like a small town about the same size as Jefferson.
What's the name?
Algona.
Yeah. So the husband in the background that you can't see, he's from up that way. He's from Armstrong.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Anyway, the spouses are having a moment right now.
Basically from Minnesota moment.
Yeah. Oofda.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll say it in actual conversation, like weirdos.
Yeah. So I went we met afterwards, and she kind of got a job in Des Moines, and then came to lovely Grand Junction, which is the little town we live in.
You guys live in Grand Junction. Do you know Spencer Kirk?
Yeah, I do know Spencer Kirk.
There you go. He did a lot of work on our building.
Okay.
So we used, we were talking about this offline as well, that my husband used to teach here at Greene County in Jefferson. And so he used to work for all sorts of people. So he worked with Greg Ruth, and so CNR Construction. And he would have taught and coached Spencer. And Spencer, I think, had worked with Greg. They take students and teach them contracting things and stuff. And so Spencer came and did a lot of work on our buildings. So,
good.
Yeah. Good times. Grand Junction. What a town.
It's a beauty.
It's the grandest.
It is.
You should buy commercial real estate in Grand Junction.
No, thank you.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a commute for me. I think we're pretty settled. You're not the first person to offer us something in the area. So
well, here, not that long ago, since this is about your revitalization, Greene County had, what was it called? Something 2020. I'm gonna need a little offside help here, Megan. What was it called? Vision 2020. Where they had a vision, this was probably in 2018, where they had a vision of 2020. And one of the visions of 2020 is Grand Junction is going to turn into a artist colony. Yeah. So
here we are in 2024, and is there any sign of said artist?
Not yet, but
we get the right investment.
The building they were going to do burnt down. They're going to get the colony, so
maybe it was a sign.
Maybe, or it's an opportunity for somebody.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah, brand new.
Potentially. Yeah. Anyway, so Bill, and what about you? Did you?
Melissa, I met her when she was in like middle school.
Okay.
And I was in
college.
No, she was in 8th grade when I graduated. But I
Awkward.
So almost.
Yeah.
Her brothers and I wrestled together, and they actually worked for us on the farm in the summers. And we were really, really good friends, and she was there.
Yeah.
And couldn't have cared less until she came to college, and then I was like, oh,
Because she was in 8th grade, Bill.
you're like a person now, so yeah.
Fair enough.
So it was nice. It was seamless. I already knew the family.
Yeah.
It was
Great.
perfect.
So no awkward family introductions or anything like that. You
right.
had that all under. Beautiful. And so she was cool with being in the area. Obviously, she's from here. Is her family still around here?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so that makes it quite easy. Okay, so you guys both go off to college after your forced friendship. You both move back into the area. When does the forced friendship return? Is that like as soon as you guys get back, or are you like fine with
Probably
staying?
pretty soon.
Yeah, I would say pretty soon. We could check the notes or the minutes, but we formed the Pond Owners Association.
Pond Owners
Yeah, so James's family has a pond, and we have a pond, and then another friend has a pond. And so we would just go and we would tour ponds all summer and fish
and float and drink
float.
beer.
Well,
And then have meetings, business meetings.
we would have a meeting. Sometimes we'd have guest speakers.
Mostly the reason for the Pond Owners Association was so we could invite people out and then tell them they can't be in the
Yeah,
association.
we wouldn't let them vote.
Because they didn't have a pond. So sorry. I know you
kind of
want to
an
be part of this
elitist-
club, but
We're kind of elitist.
It's not
when it
for
comes to
you.
owning ponds, so.
we took notes.
What does it take to be a member then?
A pond.
Yeah, pond.
Okay.
Pretty much. And I don't know, we should probably vote them in.
Right.
Yeah.
How
Not like a koi pond, like
you
I'd
just-
say an acre.
Yeah, minimum.
Acre minimum.
I think we're making the bylaws up right now.
We should probably call Dusty.
Yeah.
How-
Well, it's 2/3 vote here.
I was gonna say, did membership expand outside of 3? Instead
No.
pond.
We didn't
No.
really have any more friends, so
With ponds.
Right. So you had to work with what you had.
yeah.
So the Pond Owners Association begins and ends.
Yep.
It sounds like.
And it was also kind of the.
It hasn't
genesis-
ended yet.
Yeah, no, nobody
It's
ever
still-
put the kibosh on it.
Yeah, we haven't disbanded.
We have kids now, so we don't actually do anything fun, but
But you also now have multiple members of said pond association.
sure.
Do they get to be in just because they are?
I feel like nepotism.
Yeah,
I
for
should
sure.
allow.
I mean, we don't own our ponds, so it seems only fair.
Yeah, true.
nepotism at work
Yeah,
here in the
for
Pond
sure.
Owners Association of Western Iowa.
Yep.
Is what I'm hearing. Sounds like there's some corruption going on. But
We almost submitted the minutes a couple times to the local paper, which would have been really
That would
funny.
have been really fun. We missed the boat on that.
Well, that's fine. Happens. Okay, so you start the Iowa Pond Owners Association. I'm going to call you the Western Iowa Pond
Yeah.
Owners Association.
I think it's the only pond owner association in Iowa, but I can't really fact check that.
WIPA sounds cool though. Western
Yeah,
Iowa.
sure. Yeah, there you go.
Or yeah, we'll call it WIPA.
WIPOA.
WIPOA is not
Yeah.
quite the same. WIPA. T-shirts, I'm telling you, needs to be made. So anyway, so you guys get back, you start your Pond Owners Association. When do you start getting into sort of the conservation end of things? I think that's
Yeah.
probably what led you down the trail. You're both back now at this point working on family farms, right? Doing row crop.
Yep.
Am I correct in that
Mhm.
assessment? Okay. I got to imagine if your families had been doing it for quite a few years, you're still conventional till, or had anybody moved to no-till or
We're pretty
strip
well.
till?
At that time, we were mostly no-till, and now we're pretty much all no-till.
Yeah.
And Dad was using cover crops when I got back from college. He was one of the first adopters around here. So
How did that go when he first started doing that? And so the reason I asked that is so we started strip tilling in 2002. And where we were the first and the only. And like when my dad sold the field cultivator and, got rid of all the equipment and all that stuff. I mean, farmers talk. It's the way it is. And we're very used to getting that. We've always kind of been the weird ones, as naturally I've continued being a cricket lady. But so how was that received locally of like, what is he doing planting grass in his fields?
I mean, I don't think we ever like got scoffed at, but nobody was going to chase us.
Not to your face,
For a while.
anyways.
Yeah, exactly. How would I know? Yeah.
Just Frederick things, they'd probably say.
Yeah, no, we're kind of the same way. We're not afraid to go outside the box a little bit. So, yeah, I don't ever remember hearing any like negative, but like as you talk to people, they'd be like, well, that's not going to work. So
Yeah.
There was a lot of pushback, but they didn't care that I was doing it.
Sure. So you guys started that early. So you guys had already implemented it. Then what about you? Like,
Yeah, we were for the most part conventional till, and we switched to strip till in probably the early 2000s, probably 05, 06, 08, somewhere in there. And we were using cover crops mostly as a forage crop for cattle, not really for a benefit for soil, but for added forage in between, like chopping silage or whatever. We'd chop rye and do that. So we were using cover crops for like a different reason. Probably it's kind of like a secondary crop.
And do you have, I imagine you do you have like an estimate of how much that would cut down on additional feeding costs for your, I'm sure you do.
Yeah. Well, it's different every year. Bill's done studies on his cow-calf herd where that was probably 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, we would take like growth at the November 1 or whatever it was, and then we would dry it down and weigh it out and figure out how many tons of hay it would displace, per acre or whatever it was. So
if you have cows in Iowa, if you're grazing any corn stalks, any fodder, cover crops like really pay. I mean, it's like like one of the easiest decisions to do if we could just get people to do it consistently.
Right. Okay, so you guys get into this. You guys are already kind of into the cover crop and the non-traditional, shall we say, at the time in the early 2000s.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are both back. We'll call it 2008, 2009-ish. You're back in the area. When do you start looking at it like this is maybe something that we could...
At the Pond Owners Association.
Yeah, so probably there. So
Really?
I left my corporate gig, and then every seed corn dealer wanted me to be a dealer. Every seed corn company wanted me to be a dealer, and I'm like, I don't want to sell seed. Like, that sounds horrible. But I still needed some, like, farming can get sometimes, and Bill and I differ in this, but sometimes farming for me can get boring and like not as intellectually like stimulating as sales.
Tell me more on that one. Why?
Because it is slower paced. You sell a crop once every 12 months. It's not very transactional.
Your input, where you're getting your inputs.
You know where you're getting your
you're
input.
selling it.
You have 12 months to sell this product. There's no real thing in the middle of those 12-month periods.
You don't have to develop the market. The market's there.
Yep. And now, like, even like selling grain, you're only going to sell to one or two places because they're going to be the most competitive ones. Mm-hmm. So it can be monotonous and boring. So I want to do something different. And so a friend of mine from college said, hey, why don't you sell cover crops? It's different. No one's doing it. I said, what the hell? There's no, like, to become a cover crop dealer, it's not like you have to sign any paper. You just start kind of doing it. So I was selling a little cover crops, sold some to Bill and his family. Bill was raising things. I was buying things from Bill. And so then we just decided to make a go of it, and we formed an LLC to sell cover crops because we were both doing it individually at the time.
But we were at a Pond Owners Association meeting, and James and I think nothing alike, right? Like, we just look at the exact same thing, and we'll come up with two exact different answers. And
can you give me an example?
Oh, I don't want to start fighting right now.
Better.
Basically, I mean, literally anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we would start talking about cover crops, and we would both agree that they were interesting and that it had a future.
So, I know what they are, but it's very, very realistic that somebody who is listening to this has no freaking idea what we're talking about in terms of what cover crops are. So how would you explain it to somebody who doesn't have any idea of farming or anything like that, starting from ground zero? How would you explain it?
Go. So we plant seeds kind of in the off season of the natural growing season of corn and beans. To put more living roots and put more biomass on top of the ground for a longer season throughout the year. So instead of the ground being bare for 6 months out of the year, now it's got something living, and it kind of is meant to emulate, native prairie and stuff like that, where it's a little more of a healthy system. It's good for forage. It's good for weed suppression. And it's good for reducing like nutrient loss and soil erosion. So it's a good conservation measure, and in theory, at least, is good for the bottom dollar on farmers as well.
And what's typically planted as the cover crop?
Yep. So mostly cover crops are mostly cereal grains and some legumes or brassicas like radishes or turnips. And like the cereals would be like rye or wheat or oats. So they're very basic crops.
Those are the big three, but then we get into all sorts of weird, turnips and radish and sugar beets and all kinds of things.
And the what determines who's going to use what? Like, where do you use a brassica versus a cereal?
It all depends on what the customer's goals are. So if they're wanting to graze cattle, they might do cereal rye and turnips or cereal rye and rapeseed, something like that. But if they want it to winter kill, they might, and they don't want to touch it ever, they might use oats and radish. So it just depends what people's goals are.
Yep. And so when you say winter kill, it's things that are not going to overwinter. It's as soon as the frost hits, it's not going to go anywhere. Yep. And then the intention, you'd said it earlier, it's the second crop, so to speak, but is the intention when you plant it to eventually harvest it?
No, virtually never. I mean, sometimes you'll hay it or, grazing it, you can count as harvesting, but for the most part, it just gets killed and then your cash crop gets planted into it.
Gotcha. Thank you for breaking that down. Like I said, there's some people who are not even in farming and will have no idea.
When we go to do talks with people, it's so hard to come up with what you're going to say, because there's people there that know absolutely nothing. And then there's people that know way more than you do. And there's no middle ground, it seems like.
Yeah. And they can all be within the same crowd sort of a situation. Okay. So you guys are at this Pond Owners Association meeting. You start talking about, cover crop, and that you're both utilizing it. One of you selling it at that point, the other's consuming, and you're both consuming. And you think that there's this future. You form the LLC. You do all of the things. Where at this point, though, you're selling cover crops to people like Bill. Where are you sourcing your seed from and all that? Is there National Cover Crop Association that is providing?
So we're sourcing from a series of wholesalers essentially, and so then we just started finding our own growers and then having people grow for us. So probably in year 2 or 3, we started having people grow for us, and then it's the the natural cycle of once you have someone growing for us, then you say, well, we can process this. So then Bill bought a bunch of seed cleaners on Facebook or somewhere. So we bought a bunch of these old 1950 seed cleaners. We ran them for a year until they were way too tiny and not exactly for us. So we did that. Then there was just the natural progression. You're just well, I need more. I need something bigger. I need something different. I need different packaging, blah, blah, blah. So we just kind of naturally, over a few years, went from buying from a wholesaler to building our own supply chain, essentially.
And so talk to me a little bit about that, about building your own supply chain. Are they growing here in Iowa? Are you going up to more the Dakotas sort of a situation? How does that all work? And then is it sort of a custom farming situation? Like, or was the seed cleaner the only thing that you guys really needed to buy, and the rest of it was on that?
Well, yeah, Dad and I had been growing our own seed for quite a while. I mean, when I got back, he was growing his own, so.
Basically, you were trying to cut James out of it as much as
No,
possible.
we were both kind of just doing our thing in separate circles, and then every once in a while they would cross over. But yeah, we were raising oats and wheat for the most part, and then just consuming most of it on our own farm. Like, we weren't raising hardly any, and then just selling to some neighbors and stuff. Yeah, and then we started getting into the rye a little bit more, which I tried to raise a couple of years and hated it. So we source most of our rye out of the Dakotas and Canada and Minnesota. So
Now we source our rye mostly out of the north. We have growers that grow for us. No different than a contract with the co-op taking corn. We just contract for them for rye. And then we have growers in Iowa that grow oats for us. And then we have growers in Iowa that raise wheat. And we have growers that raise buckwheat in Iowa. And what else we got?
yeah,
If there's any growers in Iowa with triticale, we're looking for you.
We have not found
Yeah, but maybe this is what you're watching.
But when we first started out, we were doing small enough volume that it was like we couldn't justify cleaning it ourselves, really. So it was all the rye we were buying cleaned already and bringing it down, and then selling it that way. And then we realized, we could be way more efficient if we were cleaning ourselves and buying straight from a farmer and cut out 2 or 3 middlemen that way.
Cut the middlemen. So then at that point, I have to imagine your previous grain trading situation kind of helped with developing the contracts and knowing how to deal with that side of things.
Yep.
I would say that's probably where you came in. And was that a couple years in-ish, or
Probably a year or two. Yeah, we figured out how to do supply chains pretty, like logistics. We're pretty good at that. And so we started essentially, a lot of the cover crops get harvested in end of July, and then they need to be placed the 1st of September. So you only have 30 days to process them and
so
get
your
them.
August sucks.
Oh, it's terrible.
Oh yeah, it's busy, and
It's 18 hours a day, 7 days a week.
and so you got to get all the stuff out the door in a month period down here. So yeah, it takes a lot of from my grain merchandising background, I could deploy 20, 30 trucks at it, right? So that's what we did.
Then that first year, how many contractors did you bring on in that first year? Do you remember?
Oh,
was it just
gosh.
like a
Our
handful?
first year, we probably sold a load or two of like nothing.
Yeah, and it was.
We were happy.
Well,
it was
it's
fine.
a learning year.
Yeah,
And I think,
absolutely.
And it was a side gig.
So it was a side gig at this point. You guys are still both
Yeah.
farm, like that's the full-time thing
Yep,
is
for
the
sure.
farming side.
Yep.
Okay, so you're kind of dipping your toes still.
We were
sort of.
hoping to make enough money to, maybe have a nice like weekend in down Des Moines, maybe.
I was gonna say
Yeah, it was probably that level.
Like
Steak
if we
dinner.
can make like $1,000 total and we split it up, we're pretty happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I do remember, it just kind of, the first probably 5 years for sure, it would double every year. And
What was that like?
we were always kind of, what's the saying? The cat chasing the tail.
Oh,
What's the-
yeah.
Like, we were always like one step behind, right?
Yeah.
And then we would get like comfortable with it, and then it would double again. And it was like, well, shit.
Yes.
Yeah, we always tell a story that there's this one year where, so we apply we do a lot of application cover crops, like with airplanes. We don't own the airplanes, we sub that out. But
Ooh, so tell me more. Tell me a little bit about that though. Like,
So our pilot is an F-16 pilot.
Sweet.
Stotts out of Jefferson.
I will tell my brother that,
oh, they
retirement.
all know each other.
Tell him Thermo says hi.
He won't. His call sign is Gator. I don't know. He's in Japan.
Yeah.
He's busy.
He was a couple years ahead of us in school, and came back to help his dad with the spray business. Timing was really good. He was kind of aggressive as well, seeing the cover crop market.
Because fighter pilots aren't aggressive at all, are they?
No,
They're not type A personality.
definitely.
So he was one of the early adopters of like getting a seeder on his airplane and getting set up to do it. And so it's just like, oh man, this is starting to really mesh.
Everything's like falling together. But I'm saying like mechanically, tell me how that works. Like, is it kind of like a crop duster situation where
Yeah.
They just take the spray booms off and they put a spreader on the bottom.
Yep.
Wild.
And then we go and we call it our little circus where we take the airplanes to all these different airports around, and then we have a seed conveyor, and then we have semis, and then we
Load 'em up?
load the planes.
Tender truck that has an auger that sticks out the nose.
Yeah.
So they can just pull straight up to the wing of the airplane, load it.
So we'll do that. That's mostly Bill's job now.
Well, and how long, I don't know how long does it take to do a 40-acre field?
Oh, not long.
They're going 140 mile an hour, like
Right.
70 feet at a time. So we've
like
done
20 minutes.
We can do it with 2 airplanes. We can do 2,000 acres a day, pretty easy,
Dang.
and be home for supper.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
So what we were doing is, so the life cycle of this is the seed gets harvested in July, has to be cleaned,
Has to be
tested, has to go to us, has to go to the airport and get flown on in 30 days. And so what we were doing is it was so tight that Bill was cleaning it at the time that he would like clean between like,
I would like start cleaning at midnight.
start clean at midnight, but then the seed would have to be at the airport by 7. So
be loaded on.
to load it on,
So I was
and then
loading
rinse
trucks
and repeat.
and then going.
Dang.
It was
we
fun.
didn't have
Yeah,
facilities.
it was a hoot.
Like you said, cat chasing its tail or whatever that saying is.
But so we like, when you think about starting a business, it's scary because you're like, what if it fails? Like it's probably going to fail.
Yeah.
And we've been very fortunate that we haven't had that problem, but it creates a whole new series of problems.
Yeah, so then it's like, all right, is this the conversation we'd always used to have? Is like, all right, is this a fad? Is this going to go away? Do we invest in it, or do we like poor boy it and see how far it goes? And then when it's a fad and it's over, then we'll wash our hands of it and be done.
What stage did you decide, hey, this is investable?
We never did. It got pushed on us.
Yeah. So
We're both very cheap.
Yeah, you're farmers.
And we had a business that we could do with 2 cell phones essentially when we started.
and all the equipment we needed, other than those little seed cleaners, was all equipment we had on the farm anyway that we were using it off season.
Yeah. So your capital investment was
Nothing.
essentially.
Yep.
And
Had to buy diesel in Al's truck.
Yeah.
dang it.
Yeah,
Dang it, Al.
I know.
Man, just be a good guy.
But probably so this is what Bill and I talk about a lot. Probably how our parents helped us the most is they let us do it. And they let us like, just do your thing. We think it's going to fail,
Yeah.
but
But we love you.
Yeah.
But whatever.
And they gave us the space and the time to try it and time off from doing what we should have been doing to do it. And yeah, for the first 5 years, there was no like, this is a fad. It's not going to work. And now it's like, oh yeah, that worked.
And so like you're going through those 5 years and you're like, yeah, we're just kind of going and it's going to be what it's going to be. So then you hit that 5-year mark. Like what was it? Or can you?
So we were in like this big bind. Bill and I we sold a bunch of stuff, processed, kind of like a wholesale seed. And we figured out that we couldn't do it. And we were in this huge bind and we were a little desperate. And so then we called this guy who has a seed cleaner north of here because we knew he probably wasn't doing a whole lot. And we called him and we're like, hey, Jim, we need to get this processed. And we went up and looked at it and And he's like, well, how soon can you have seed there? And it was about 10 o'clock in the morning. And we had trucks, like, he didn't know it, but we already made the decision before we even looked at it. We had trucks head that way anyway. They were coming at 1, whether he liked it or not. And so then we started having like a guy that was like set up for actually doing what we were doing, because we were not set up. So I remember we sold a bunch of seed into Oklahoma, and we were trying to bag it, and it was a complete disaster. And like the frustration was probably as like high as it ever was. And like this isn't going to work. And we got trucks sitting around waiting for product. And Bill's like, I got to check my cows. And I was like, all right, I'm just sitting down here by myself trying to make this work. And we got this truck loaded, and Bill brought me A&W, and he said, we need to do something here because we are in a bind. And so then we got into a seed clean, like an actual seed clean plan, because we were doing it out of a corn crib.
Right.
We were trying to do too much with too little.
Yeah, trying to limp along and shoestring it, and not really go all in, but also
like we want to make sales like we're going all in.
We didn't want to put any money up.
Didn't want to put any money up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we got in the seed clean plant, and we were leasing it, and we leased that for 2 or 3 years, and that worked really well.
Well, and that keeps your capital investment down still. You know, it's one of those things.
It was a cheap
option. It was cheap, and we learned a lot because we had no idea what we were doing. And
you learned it on somebody else's equipment too. That's
Yes.
And it also allowed us, so when we moved into there, we now had the ability to make small bags and to make totes, which is something that like co-ops like. And so now we're not just selling to farmers, we're selling to big retailers.
Retail, yeah. And then we had someone that had been in the business of cleaning things. And so like we got a lot of knowledge from the person we were renting from, because he just been doing it forever, his whole life. So we learned a lot through him. Mm-hmm. But then we had a tornado.
Well, okay. So prior to that, though, 2020 derecho, were you guys relatively unscathed by the derecho? It seems like out here, maybe you guys didn't get it
So
quite
our
as bad.
farms were hit pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But our business was far enough north. It was fine.
So you got lucky on that one.
Business was good. Yeah, the farms were rough.
Business was actually really brisk because we had a lot of people's crop was zeroed out. And so and it was August, derecho August 10th or some dang thing.
Yep.
And so it's like perfect time to put in cereals. So like business got like orders all of a sudden a week after got really big. And we were set up for it then at that time. So we didn't get hit. So that was good.
So that's lucky.
Yep.
So then you fast forward 14 months. Yeah. And do you want to talk about the weather that day? Do you want to talk about when it was?
I don't really remember.
That's
it was December what?
It was like December
2022.
Yeah, but it was like December 7th or something. Like it was not.
Yeah.
It was beginning of December.
It was like 80 degrees. Everybody's out in their t-shirts.
80 degrees and humid.
Crazy.
It was wild.
The weirdest thing ever. Yeah. And so everybody had been working outside and just like, oh, this is weird. But they had forecasted it. Like they knew that line of storms was coming.
Yes.
And it came exactly like they said it was going to, and it just annihilated everything. How many was there? Like 6 confirmed tornadoes in Greene County?
Yeah, I think Greene County was the worst of it, if I remember right. I think you guys just got lucky.
Yeah, go big or go home. So our house was like, I was in the basement, and like
everyone was in the basement.
Had steel like slamming up against the side of my house, and I was like, oh, this is not good.
After the derecho, no one was like joking around with it anymore.
No, and that I think
that was pretty fresh.
Yeah, I was going to say you're only a year removed from that, and I think there's a lot of people that now, when wind gets forecasted, we're not like, oh, it's just wind. We're like, oh.
Yeah, well, it's weird. I mean, my dad is 72, and he's seen 3 derechos in his life, and my daughter is 5, and she's seen 2.
It's wild.
So it's just like, it's a weird animal, but so we were just all like hunkering down, hiding from this tornado, and you go outside, and I remember going outside, and I was trying to figure out what was still here, and it was just like ashy, and it smelled like forest fire, and I was like, what is going on? And found out it was the grass fires from Kansas. It had blown ash all the way from there, which is pretty wild. But then we were trying to figure out what happened at the seed plant, which luckily we were pretty low on inventory. Like December, we're pretty quiet. So we were pretty low on inventory, but we had a couple grain bins full of stuff that we were getting ready to clean, and some bags and stuff like that. And it was all, there was 2 big storage buildings and then a cleaning shed and 5 or 6 bins. And it picked up 1 storage building and put it through the rest of everything else. So it was all gone.
Out of commission at that point.
Everything was gone.
Everything was gone.
So then you see that.
You think, oh, shit.
Hope they have insurance.
Yeah, I hope they have insurance. But, like for us, it doesn't matter. Our seed was covered, but...
And we weren't in sales season.
We didn't have any money invested into the building, so we didn't have any insurance on it.
Right, but you also didn't have an alternative of facilities to use.
Yeah.
And so, you're in your off season and all of that. And also...
It's a good thing it happened when it did.
Yeah.
Because it gave us a lot of time.
If it would have happened in August, it would have been not a good deal.
Right.
But
So we got the 2x4s out of the tote bags that they went through and kind of salvaged what we could. It didn't rain, which was
No.
nice.
Yeah, that was
But
great.
the beautiful thing is then the next day, it was 80 degrees the day before, it's 35.
Yeah.
The next day as you're cleaning up
Yeah.
and assessing damage. Ugh.
The funny thing about it is I remember our employee at the time, Phil, we had this big leg and I was like, it's such a nice day. Like, you better go up and grease that leg. And so he went all the way up, which was a chore. So we went up and greased the leg. And the next morning I go there and Phil's like, here, come over here. See, the leg's laying on the ground now.
Yeah.
He's like, I greased it.
Would have been way easier.
Yeah, it would have been way
Yeah.
easier down here. So we kind of it took us about a month of just kind of cleaning stuff up because we were also cleaning our own farms up too.
Yeah.
And we cleaned up what we could. And then, then we had, it was like we said, sugar get off the pot time.
That was the thing that made us want to invest in the business. Was we have to now if we really believe in it, and we did. So
Yeah. So then where do you start with that path? Like, are you looking at, like, do we, put up our own building? Do we try and find somewhere else to lease? Like, where did that go?
So-
there was nothing to rent.
And we're right in the middle of the supply chain disruption and expensive prices.
And
Oh, yeah, 21.
Yeah.
That was
22,
construction. Yeah, 21, 22.
It was-
Construction supplies were pretty cheap back then, weren't
Yeah,
they?
it was
Oh yeah,
awesome.
dirt cheap.
great time to build.
It's fine.
Interest was cheaper, which was the only good thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, unlike a normal startup, we had customer base, right? And we had
You definitely had proof of concept at that point.
we had
You
proof of concept. We had a
and
customer base.
You were profitable.
We were profitable.
And we knew we were gonna have. Yeah, we knew we were gonna have demand. We just had to figure out how to fill it.
Yeah, we had. I think the inventory we had like a, tornado, our loss, your gain. Like, come get discounted.
Fire sale.
Yeah.
Come get discounted product because we have nowhere to go with it.
Right.
So we wholesaled a bunch of that out.
We called everybody in the county for like, do you have a building that we can rent?
Just dry space, essentially. to
Anything.
try and- yeah.
No, nobody has anything. And then one of the co-ops had a old fertilizer shed that was
Quonset shed.
rough enough that they weren't going to use it.
Yeah.
And they're like, you can park here if you want.
Yeah.
So we did. And while we're doing that,
the password is corn on the.
hey, that might still be
No,
valid.
the shed's
You might
gone.
want to scratch it.
It's gone. It's demolished. It's so good that they said you got to get your stuff out by this day because we're going to demolish it. So we used it for a year.
Yeah, no electricity.
Yeah, we did
No water.
brisk business with no power, no electricity, no internet.
Yeah, and the business grew.
Almost doubled that year
And so,
while we were building this one.
so yeah, while we're doing that, we're also like, okay, we're not going to find a building. Let's see if we can find a lot and just get after it. And we were lucky. This is an old co-op location. And the guy was tired of mowing it that owned it. And so he parceled it off for us. And we found a builder and a building insanely fast for the time when everybody was in demand. And
because the tornado came through here and everyone's sheds got demolished
Everybody
too.
was
So it's
rebuilding.
not like there was like a ton of contractors.
Yeah.
Right. You were competing with friggin' everybody.
Yeah.
But I guess the beautiful thing is like you weren't waiting on insurance to pay you out, whereas
Yes.
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
gave
That
you
was the
leg
nice
up.
thing. It was a cash deal.
Yeah. Well, but you know what I'm saying though, like from a getting the contractor perspective.
Yeah. We
though.
didn't have to wait for any
Yes.
permissions.
Yes.
It was just go.
And so I think that, you know, you laugh, but like that 1,000% could be
Yeah.
the reason that you ended up getting someone versus not.
Right.
So
Because December we had seed in this building in August. So 8 months, and it's a big building, you know, like it was a project. So we booked it. That was all we did that year.
Yeah, so
was
we
this.
were building. I think we started building this about the 4th of July, and that's also like right in the top of our busiest season. So like we were doing both, as you know. And there's probably some things that we overlooked because we were just trying to like
Just get it done.
get it done and do business at the same time. So, but yeah, we built this building.
But yeah, now we have a real house.
I was gonna say, and so now in this space, like, what do you have? Like, what are your capabilities? What do you have underneath this roof?
So then, not only with the building in 2023. So 2022, Bill's wife Melissa was working mostly full time on the business, on the back end, doing the books and.
Which she was an accountant, right?
No,
Or
that's
did-
James's wife.
Okay.
So-
no, one of you was an accountant.
And
Is that
so then
biologist?
in
That's
2023,
cheating.
no, 2020. When did you start here?
This is 24.
You start here in 21? Well, I guess in 2021 she was full time too. Melissa must have been full time way before that, like 18.
No idea.
I don't know.
Take it up with accounting.
I at that point we weren't even like paying anybody really.
Yeah. We
So
have two
so now we have
horribly overqualified and underpaid people on staff.
So now we have four. We have
Happens.
5 employees, 4 of which are owners, and the girls really do 90% of the work.
That does not surprise me one bit.
No,
James and I lift stuff up and drive forklifts.
we don't even do that.
I mean, that's the only reason we keep you around. but
vac grain bins out.
Vac grain bins out. That seems like that's our
I would
special.
learn QuickBooks if I didn't have to grain vac anymore.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So we have the girls, and they're here all the time, kicking butt, taking names. We have a warehouse employee, Trevor.
Yeah, we have a real house with electricity and the internet,
Yeah, it's fancy.
and so like our efficiency is.
skyrocketed.
This was our first year operating in the building, and it was quite a bit better, and it's got just a ton of room to grow.
And do you think, from an efficiency standpoint, is it just because you actually have, like,
Having the space is nice. We have loading docks, so we don't have to, pull pallets onto a truck, which saves you 40 minutes every time you load a truck. And we had, 200 trucks come in here this year. So like, it saves a lot of time.
yeah? And would you say, like, operating capacity, are you at 50%? Like, of the space that you have? Like, how soon are we going to need to add on, is what I'm asking.
We were wall to wall, couldn't drive a forklift in there at least twice last year,
So
but then it empties out.
Yeah.
hopefully it empties out.
Yeah.
We've also not wholly just like the equipment and the stuff, like the institutional knowledge of running a seed business. Like we understand the processes now.
We're actually refining.
We're
processes.
refining. Yeah, we're refining. We didn't have a process before. Now we're refining. Like the process before was collect the physical pieces of paper you write down and bring them to me so I can invoice them. And now everything's electronic. Everything, like we have an order system. Blah blah. Blah.
It's like impossible for me to steal seed out of my own warehouse.
Yeah,
now.
it's just
Terrible.
nice.
God, get on that accounting department. Man,
Yeah.
they are just running a tight ship around here.
But we have the capability of blending now, and we're currently we did a lot of blending last year, but we didn't have the best capabilities of bagging the blends. We did it in a very crude elementary way, but now we're going to have the capabilities of bagging the blends. We put up bulk storage here because Bill and I would do pile of grain vacuuming of our own bins, which got very old. So we invested in that this year.
And so a little back to that process thing, whose decision was it that, hey, we need something other than these freaking pieces of paper that we were going to, was that?
Well, we all knew that.
We knew it was a problem.
Yeah.
But when you don't have electricity,
True. You gotta, yeah.
pens still work.
And I was saying a notebook and whatever, whatever you got, it's whatever you got.
Yeah.
So,
We try to have like weekly meetings where we identify problems and try and figure out how to fix them.
And everyone kind of has their own thing that they're the expert in, per se, that is their, Melissa does all the AR and seed testing, and Megan does marketing and AP, and
we don't do much.
Bill, 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 I don't know what he does.
I'm here.
Yeah, he does things. Does sales, I guess.
Pretty handy with a coffee pot.
there you go.
Yeah.
So. Somebody has to be. Somebody's got to know how to operate it. Okay, but then, so talk to me about how were you guys initially getting business, 5, 6, 7, however many years ago? Like, was it mainly a word of mouth sort of a situation? Like, how did that customer base start to build for you guys?
There's a lot of beating the pavement, and we were hooked in with a lot of really good cooperators. So we worked with Practical Farmers of Iowa quite a bit, and they were really good at promoting us. Who else was really good at promoting us?
We had just so we were like our original advertising. We were like the only person in Iowa advertising for cover crop seed. We also, Bill and I started this business called Iowa Cover Crop, and we did not realize the SEO advantages of that. News to us.
Sometimes
but
better be lucky than good.
If you Google that, if you Google Cover Crops Iowa, we happen to go to the top of the list.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah.
So that's nice. So that helped Google.
And now, like, in the last 5 years or so, we've been seeking out dealers because James and I's arms are out about as far as they can get. So we just kind of hunt down young farmers for the most part and say, replicate what we started doing. And so they're getting their neighbors after it. So we've got 15 dealers or so now, and they're just replicating what we were doing.
In Iowa?
For the most part.
Nebraska, Minnesota.
And so otherwise your customer base is how wide reaching? I know you said you have some stuff that goes down in Oklahoma.
Yeah, Missouri, yeah. Anywhere, we'll send it anywhere.
Yeah.
We sent some stuff to the East Coast.
Yeah. So then talk to me a little bit about the decision to bring on dealers. When did that, how did that start? Did somebody approach you? Because that tends to be sort of how these things work.
So specialty seed, which is what we sell now, we don't just sell cover crops, we sell CRP, we sell alfalfa, anything other than corn and soybeans, we basically sell. And it's not like there's a ton of specialty seed companies out there, but everyone needs a little bit of specialty seed. Every co-op needs to have someone that buys, brome grass from or something, whatever that is. And so these dealers have recognized that they need to have cover crops in their lineups, and they need to have this as an option. And so then they found us and they say, hey, we want to offer cover crops to our customer base too, because most of these people are selling corn and soybeans. And so Bill can tell you about the neat thing, these conversations we've had for 5 or 6 years now, that what they turn into, what they start and what they turn into. Go ahead, Bill.
This is a put you on the spot situation.
No, you know exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah. It's mostly they're looking for a touch point to sell more corn and beans. And because the chain of command here is so short, they make way more money than they can do with corn and beans selling cover crops.
They think we're crazy when we tell them oh, you'll make more money selling this than you will corn and beans. Oh, no way. And it's well, you just give it a couple years.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that it's specialty enough that you guys are making it easy for them. Essentially, they don't have to go out and source a relatively small amount relative to their corn and soybeans, that they're supplying. They have multiple options on that. That's an easy one to find, but you're streamlining that position, and then you guys are so lean. You cut out enough middlemen, shall we say, that that's where the margin is. Like, that's how it works.
Yeah. And the first thing that made Iowa cover crop really take a big jump was starting to do the application, because people are interested in doing these things, but they don't know how to do it, or they don't have the right equipment. And so if you can be that person that just says, just write a check and we'll take care of everything for you. People are more.
Are you telling me the money's in the processing and
money's in the processing?
Weird.
But for us, it's the convenience, right? Like, if it's super simple and you don't really have to do anything. So, like, all these guys that are working with us now, they all have equipment, and they need to put more acres over it to justify buying it. And so it's just a natural fit.
And the beauty, like with the end user customer farmer per se, is we can help them steer them towards cost share opportunities. A lot of times, which I'd say more than a lot of times, that we're putting cover crop on for them, they're actually netting more money than the cost is in most situations. And so, like, instead of being a cost share, it's like a profit center for them.
Right. And so tell me a little bit about some of those cost share programs, because some of those are federal, some of those are state, some of those are like Practical Farmers of Iowa sort of a situation. So what do those look like? Like, what are the purpose of those, etc.?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it all started out in like the USDA office, and farmers could come in, and it was just kind of to incentivize people to try something new. And with the nutrient reduction strategy and all these, initiatives that are like really driving at lowering greenhouse emissions and things of that nature, those programs are here to stay. But now also we're working with a lot of private companies that are looking to make their products more green. And so they want to help cost share farmers to make.
There is a ton of cost shares. I mean, too many to list. And there is federal, states, watersheds, which are a combination of federal or state, and then privates. And privates, we think, is going to have huge opportunities, private cost shares.
And so with those programs, then, are you guys doing all the paperwork, or are you essentially giving the customer, here's the stuff you need to fill out? Like, are you holding?
They have to do the applications and everything. Like, we can't do that for them
unless we have their power of attorney.
But I'm saying you can hold their hand through the process.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Like, you figured it out enough times that.
So what happens is they all have an NRCS office that they're submitting paperwork to. And so if they are getting application through us or through one of our dealers, that those NRCS or state watershed coordinators have enough confidence in, they have a lot of confidence of our dealers and of us. So, like, we'll send them, here's our seed tag, because they know that we're selling seed that meets germination requirements. And here's the seeding rate we did, because we know what the seeding rates are to get these cost shares. So, like, they know it was done right. And so it really makes it easier for those government employees to, make the payments happen, make the magic happen.
Yeah. And so then from the marketing end of that, as you see the opportunity with the privates come in, what's your strategy there? Are you just calling them up saying, hey, I see you got this regenerative ag, goal that you just came out with us on this headline. Here's how we can help you. Or is it more like XYZ farmer supplies PepsiCo, and you say, hey, I know you supply PepsiCo. Like,
it's usually probably top down, I guess. Like, we work with Unilever quite a bit, and they have a program that they facilitate, or PFI facilitates it for them. And so we get along with Practical Farmers really well. And so we try to feed that program because it's good for us too. And that feeds Unilever's goals. Because
anytime our customer can get paid on a product that we're selling them, it's a positive thing, because they're going to, buy it again. The privates are just kind of starting, so we don't know exactly what we're doing there.
Yeah.
But if there's a private listening, we can get you a bunch of acres for a lot of money. Talking to you. As we just Jerry Maguire,
Yeah.
show me the money. That's all you gotta do.
And so, okay, as you guys think about growth and as you've grown over, do you think about total seeds sold or do you think about total acres planted? Like what's that
Probably
look like?
acres planted.
Okay, and where are we up to these days, if you don't mind me asking?
700,000, something like that. Is that right?
Yeah, maybe not that much. But I don't know.
I think it's pretty close to 700,000 in Iowa, but I'm not sure.
Are you going to have a party when you hit 1 million?
Yes. Yeah.
Sure.
Let's do it.
Iowa Pond
Oh,
Owners
Oh,
Association.
so you'll get a kick out of this. So we have our building in a separate entity than our business, which is pretty common, I think. So we couldn't figure out a name for our building. So you are actually sitting in POA Properties building,
Naturally.
which, yeah, Pond Owner Association, which also is
Full circle.
stands for something else, but I vowed I
think
could
about
not.
that.
We didn't think about that, and the LLC papers were already done. I can't swear on this podcast.
No, you can, but that's fine. I think I can think of a couple things that POA would stand for. So then, okay, so you got 700,000 acres planted. Majority of that done via airplane?
Yeah, I would say probably 3/4 of our acres that we personally do are through the airplane, maybe a little more.
And our dealers is probably less than that. It's probably half.
Yeah.
We're really efficient through the airplane. We're really good at that. Our dealers, because their topography of their land might be drills or air seeders or something else.
And where do you guys, outside of the privates, I'm talking like geographically, regionally, where do you guys forecast the most growth on this at the moment?
Oh, Iowa.
Yeah.
We're here.
Iowa for us. Yeah.
I mean, we're a tiny seed company. So we don't have a national brand.
Yet.
What a crappy name for a national brand.
What?
Iowa cover crop.
Why don't this isn't going to air for a while, so you're going to have time.
Nah.
Like national cover crop.
I think it would be more like you franchise it out and you have Missouri cover crop and stuff like that. But
we don't want to do that. We having a national-wide seed company is not our goal.
Okay, what is the goal?
We want to empower young people to apply cover crops in their areas. And so we'd rather be helping young people have a opportunity to have a cover crop business in their little region. Instead of having, 50 huge distributors that we sell to, we'd rather have 500 people drilling 1,000 acres or something like that.
Yeah.
we're pretty keen on young farmers, and it's a dying breed. And so, yeah, if we can do anything to
all of our dealers except for one is under 40, and most of them are under 35.
Yeah, one of your dealers used to work for Mr. Beeler Lawn Landscape back there.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Peyton Johnston.
Sure.
Yeah, just outside of Baxter.
Yeah, so like that's our goal. Like our perfect dealer is one that is trying to return to the farm, needs a little extra revenue to do that, has support from their parents to maybe use their dad's drill or a tractor to get started. And so how can we provide that service and seed so then they can make another extra 10, 15,000 to stay on the farm instead of having to get a job in town. Mm-hmm. So that's we have 15-ish dealers. Theoretically, you could have 2 to 3 dealers that do application per county. Like you could have 300 dealers pretty easily.
And so as you guys look at growing that network, are you going to keep that in mind? Like, are you hopefully not going to concentrate like 6 dealers in the same county? Unless, I mean, there's enough business, but that's...
We run into dealers competing every once in a while, but for the most part, it's a big state. So yeah, we try to be kind of cognizant of that and like, okay, lay out some like ground rules for if you guys are engaging one another, like how should you handle that? We try to have a dealer meeting every year where we kind of iron some of those kinks out, and because James and I are farm kids, like we're not from the sales world, so we're building this from scratch and trying to figure it out as we go. So
Yeah.
And we're not, for the most part, our customers are selling their product planted in the ground. So our dealers are selling the product planted in the ground. So that's a big difference than selling it in a bag, because selling in a bag, it's just
you can go
seed.
wherever.
You can go wherever, right? Whatever's cheapest by a penny. But if it's planted in the ground, it has a set of service with it.
You got about a 15-mile radius if you're drilling. They don't want to go further than that.
Yeah.
So it's a different dealer per se. Yeah.
And so, what are you guys most excited about in
That.
these 12 months?
Yeah.
We get excited about setting up new dealers. Ones that, we have one that is 16. He came to us and he asked, hey, do you have to be 18 to be a dealer? And I was like, I've never even thought about that before. But he's like, I don't have very good credit history. I'm like, well, how can you? You probably just got a checking account a couple years ago. You just had your driver's license. Actually, I think he was 15 when he came up here. And he
rode his bike.
basically
From Nebraska.
So he's from Eastern Iowa, and he loaned money and bought a little drill, and his dad let him use the tractor, and he drilled 1,000 acres last year.
Which is way bigger than we were.
And Bill and I kind of got in a little argument, and I said, I'm going to give this kid some credit. I said, he has no credit references, but how could he? He's only 16. And Bill's like, I think you should get paid first. I was like, I'm going to take a flyer on him. And now he has credit history because he paid his bill. He made so much dang money for a 16-year-old kid. I mean, the options are working minimum wage, and he's drilling cover crops. Mm-hmm. He's learning how to bill people out. And so that's stuff that gets us really excited. And, I get more excited about that one semi-load sale to that dealer than selling 20 to a big whale that can leave me tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's a lot, with this private interest coming in too. It's like, well, yeah, let's see if we can take money from Microsoft and give it to that kid, because that's the better way for money to flow.
Right.
So
how can we, that's what we talk about, is how can we not only, this is part of your podcast. This is the podcast. How can we support communities at the same time as, providing income and a service to us? So we joked about how you want to buy all this commercial real estate in Grand Junction. Yes. And Grand Junction is not a great place to live in. But if you can provide 1 or 2 jobs to someone to stay in Grand Junction and invest in Grand Junction and raise their family in Grand Junction, then not only are you, helping the environment by cover crops, okay, that's awesome. But then, how can you help that community by, providing a job, right? That's a big deal. One job in a town of 300 or 400 people is an important job. Mm-hmm. So how can you, keep young farmers on the farm, new farmers on the farm, and then help revitalize small communities? Because our customers aren't in Johnston, West Des Moines, So.
Right. Cool. Well, is there anything else that you guys would like to leave the people with advice?
Oh, we don't have any advice because we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Thinking about the start of the business, we basically had a rough concept of what we were doing, but we had no idea where we were actually going. But what we did do was say, we're not going to say no to people. So when an opportunity came up, we said yes, and then we figured out how to get it done. And I think that's kind of key to if you're sticking your neck out in there in something that's not been done before, that's what you have to do.
Build the airplane while you're flying.
Yeah.
Basically my motto in life.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
jump. We'll figure
And
it
it makes
out.
it fun. Like, I mean, I don't know. We talk a lot about business and have over the last decade, and the process of building the business is exciting. Like, I think everybody thinks of like the end goal of having this business as being the fun part, and it's not. It's building it.
Yeah, and we didn't have any business plan or anything. I think like they tell you to have this business plan. If you're gonna put that much thought into it, like I don't know. I'm sure people have business plans and it works.
Well, and it's one thing to put the spread. I say this all the
Did
time.
you have a business plan?
No. Well, so I have 2 degrees in finance. So like I had a spreadsheet of projections, but like
Oh, you were prepared.
no. So I found the article about the woman raising crickets for human consumption on January 1st of 2018. By January 9th, I had ordered 10,000 crickets. So yeah, I had a spreadsheet, but like it was we're just going to figure this out because like it's the best way to learn. And you know,
If those crickets are scaring you in the face, you're gonna figure out how to sell them.
exactly.
That's what we say about our inventory. If we got a full warehouse out there, we'll probably sell it.
And you can put whatever you want in that spreadsheet. It's not going to be reality. Like, and until you're in the trenches and building the business and, you know, figuring out what it's like to go through a tornado and have to work with no electricity and everything else. Like, if somebody had told you 12 months before, hey, this is going to happen, you'd have been like, cool, we're just going to go farm then.
Yeah.
You know, like you're not going to be like, well, shit, we're going to figure this out. But you knew what you had staring you in the face, so you had to make it work. So I think that I totally agree on the maybe have a mild plan and a mild outline of what's going to happen, but then just go start.
Yeah, you gotta and be willing to embrace what comes. And I mean, every opportunity that this business has come across has come out of a problem. You know, so like when you hit a problem, you can't just throw your hands up and say screw it. Like that's where the actual good comes out of those problems.
And also, who else is going to fix
Yeah,
it?
yeah. You can't call anybody.
No, it's one of those like, yeah, who are you going to call to come, you know, figure out how to fill the plane with all the seed that's going to need to go, that needed to be cleaned the night before to be delivered the next morning kind of deal.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. Awesome. So if people want to get a hold of you to order, to inquire about becoming a dealer, to do any of those things, where should they go?
Search cover crops, Iowa.
And SEO will take you straight there.
And we have a website, and go that.
Find
Give
our
us-
phone numbers and call us or email us. That's the
And
best way.
Your website, is it Iowa Cover Crops?
iacovercrop.com. Somebody bought Iowa cover crop about a month before we did.
Yeah, we have it now.
Originally,
we went many years without it, but
yeah, and then this guy wanted $500 for it, and we're like,
that's like
I
doubling.
can't
your
swear,
capital expenditures.
but I was like, blank you, I'm not going to give you a penny.
Try that again with something more creative.
Okay, fornicate you. I'm going to find something more. I'm not going to pay you a penny for this.
Yeah.
But then he just gave it up. Instead of taking our $100, which he could have had, he just gave up the domain. Like we just outlasted him. So we own. So if you go to Iowa Cover Crop, IOWA Cover Crop, it will come to us.
And
Okay,
we're,
we're checking that right now.
on the Facebook and the
X.
Twitter, the X. Yeah, sorry, I'm not.
X.
I'm not
And
familiar.
Instagram.
Instagram.
So yeah, so you can get it for Iowa IA or
we have a
Iowa
YouTube series
Under the
called
Covers.
Under the Covers. So,
So go check it out.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sitting down with me and telling me your story of forced friendship to blossoming business opportunity. I have very much appreciated the conversation, and
Cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep. Thank you.